Welcome to a new era, one where the future is not promised but privatized, where the world's billionaires and their politicians no longer pretend to have the best interests of society in mind, but instead, where they enter an economic collapse they fully intend not only to survive but to profit from. This is the age of Times Fascism, a dangerous nihilistic fusion of far-right authoritarianism, unchecked corporate power, and apocalyptic survivalism. Let's explore how this ideology threatens democracy, exploits climate chaos, and endangers the very planet we call home. In the 1930s, fascist leaders promised a glorious national rebirth, a third Rome, a 1,000-year Reich. Their vision, however twisted, was utopian, a future for the very select collective. Today's far right has abandoned any such horizon. The future is irrelevant, at least for those outside the preferred minority. Instead, they embrace what Naomi Klein, in her book The Rise of Times Fascism, calls monstrous supremacist survivalism. Tech oligarchs like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel don't just dream of Mars. They invest in bunkers, in seasteads, in escape plans. They are not just preparing for a collapse, they are banking on it. With the world in the economic shambles they envision, they will be ready, as J. Paul Getty, Joe Kennedy, and Howard Hughes were during the Great Depression, do buy up undervalued properties at pennies on the dollar. As Naomi Klein states, fascism of the 1930s had a horizon. Today's far right is actively betting against the future, fueling the fires burning this world. How exactly does this ideology shape policy? Part of the vision is seen in Trump's freedom cities. Modeled after the Honduran town of Prospera, these cities would be built on federal land, but governed by corporations, not voters. Most important, they would be exempt from environmental and labor laws, echoing the exploitation of 19th-century company towns. Project 2025 fits into this vision as a plan to dismantle the federal administrative state, replacing tens of thousands of civil servants with political loyalists, fully ready to implement whatever their mega overlords require. Project 2025 is working to abolish climate protections, gut the EPA, and open the Arctic to drilling. The Mar-a-Lago Accord, the Trump plan to restructure global trade through tariffs and currency manipulation, proposes replacing the income tax with a regressive national sales tax, shifting the burden for infrastructure and civil protections even more onto working families. These aren't just policies, they're blueprints for a future where democracy is sidelined and survival is a private luxury. Why are the world's richest so eager for economic collapse? Because for them, crisis is opportunity. While the rest of us pay regressive sales taxes on everything, they will use the money newly available to them through cancelled income taxes to purchase the assets whose values have collapsed due to the engineered depression. Moreover, artificial intelligence and resource extraction thrive on deregulation. A broken economy, protected from foreign competition by tariffs, with most of the populace struggling to survive, will be both a playground and a bargain basement for the ultra-rich. Musk's takeover of Twitter and Peter Thiel's funding of seasteading, claims of sovereignty on artificial islands created far from international control or influence, amplify far-right, anti-democratic narratives. Large corporations have always thrived in economic crises, at least those that have had the vision to see them coming or had the resources to make them happen. Far-right movements frame climate action as a globalist plot, using anti-regulatory rhetoric to protect fossil fuel profits. Project 2025's architects openly call for expanding natural gas, even as methane emissions skyrocket. How do these policies win support? By redirecting economic despair toward scapegoats, immigrants, woke elites, outsiders. In rural areas, voters back freedom cities, lured by promises of jobs and anti-coastal rhetoric, even as public lands and protections are stripped away. Silicon Valley connected mega influencers use sophisticated AI algorithms to target vulnerable groups with apocalyptic memes and conspiracy theories. For many, fascism offers a dark sense of belonging, a refuge in celebrating destruction rather than facing a future without racial supremacy. While international agreements like the Paris Accord struggle to curb emissions, nations led by end-times authoritarians double down on fossil fuels, promising to drill, baby, drill. But there is hope. Remnants of the U.S. judicial system, at least those parts that have not been corrupted by the Justice Department, remain a venue to seek justice and to maintain the rule of law. Indigenous-led and other grassroots movements are using protest, other direct action, and legal battles to defend the land and democracy. This isn't entirely new. In the 19th century, company towns like Pullman, Illinois, subjected workers to corporate rule. Today's freedom cities are their digital age descendants, and thinkers like Curtis Yarvin openly advocate for CEO kings, echoing Musk's Martian dreams. The media can normalize or resist these trends. While some outlets frame privatized enclaves as innovation, others expose the ties between tech billionaires and far-right policy. But there is resistance. Climate justice groups, labor unions, and legal advocates are forging new alliances, defending civil service, fighting deregulation, and linking environmental action to anti-fascism. Across the country, mutual aid networks blend disaster relief with voter mobilization, building a movement that is as spiritual as it is political. The cause of the rule of law is vital to democracy. True freedom cannot exist without it. Due process and habeas corpus, though often misunderstood, make the difference between self-determination and chaos. End times fascism is not inevitable. Its power lies in despair, but so does its vulnerability. By uniting climate action, labor rights, democratic renewal, and a vision of shared resistance, supremacist survivalism can be overcome. The alternative, a world of fortified enclaves and burning democracies, is a future no one should accept.